Welcome to episode 45 of Hanging by a Thin Thread, the podcast where I talk about all kinds of different crafty endeavors that I get into, including knitting, sewing, spinning, weaving, crochet. Quite often this year it happens to have been crochet that I've been focused on, and that includes the current project, finished object that I am wearing right now. This shawl is called It's Just a Shawl by Juan the Yarn Addict. He designed it. It's a free tutorial. There is no pattern available per se, but he walks you through a simple 4-row repeat that makes it very easy, and then it has a little picot border that makes it very easy to follow. And I did jot down the 4 rows at first to keep them in mind, but I was quickly able to memorize them, and then it became like potato chip knitting. Crochet, potato chip crochet. Very quickly I memorized the pattern I was doing, and it became very easy. It took me about 3 weeks to crochet this in all, but that was mainly because I had other projects on the go at the same time. And what I used for this project, I used this wonderful Yarnspirations Karen Colorama Lacy ribbon yarn. And this I did pick up at Joann's right before, like in March, the end of March, before I knew they were closing. And so it happened to be on sale for about $10 a skein. And it has over 400 yards per skein. So it's a very generous ribbon yarn. And you can probably make most shawls you would want to make. If you want them larger, you might need 2 of these. And they are still available in various places, probably on the internet. But I got 3 balls in total the day that I bought them because I really liked them, not only for shawl making, but I knew it would be a good addition to my weaving. So I used the color Spectral, which is exactly the same color that Juan the Yarn Addict used on the shawl that he made. And what I decided, he used 2 full balls on the shawl that he made, which he made a pretty large one because he's a really tall guy. But I wanted, for the purposes of this shawl, I just wanted a little shawlette that I could have to keep my arms warm when I go around in air conditioning. If I go shopping, or particularly when I go to Fiber U in a couple of weeks from now, I'm going to want a little wraparound shawl to have on my upper arms to keep me from getting chilled in the very cold buildings there at Fiber U. They keep that air conditioning pumped up pretty well because it is July. And so anyway, I'm going to be wearing this, and that's why I was particularly wanting to get it finished, in plenty of time to wear. So that's what I did. Now, you'll notice that I'm wearing this with a little flower brooch. I think you might call this an orange daisy, but I'm not really sure. I don't know my flowers very well, sorry. So if you know of what flower this actually is, let me know in the comments. But I decided to just get a little brooch to keep it closed because I noticed that because it is ribbon yarn, it wants to be a little bit springy. And so if you made it out of normal, regular wool or cotton or whatnot, it would probably not have the springiness that I have with the ribbon yarn. So I decided, in order to keep it closed and not have to keep fooling with it, that I would just use this little 1970s brooch that I purchased off an Etsy shop that I'll link to. She has quite a few really nice brooches, and I never thought about actually using a brooch to keep something closed. I always buy shawl pins, but I felt this one I wanted to go with the tropical flower look of the shawl itself, of the yarn. So I particularly looked for it and found it in this brooch. So I really do like this. I want to tell you also, because it's kind of what I would call a shawlette size, it was 50 wingspan by 19 inches in the spine, going down the spine. So it was wider, much wider than in terms of length with the spine. I will try to put a picture up here of me wearing it and showing the full, how it looks laid out in a triangle. It's a triangle shawl. But I was very pleased with how it turned out. I like the 4 different rows creates a beautiful texture. And for some reason, because I've been watching White Lotus a lot lately, I actually finally finished binge watching it. partly while I was making this shawl. But White Lotus, that series that has 3 seasons now, and I think in about a year they'll start the 4th season. But anyway, I got obsessed with White Lotus. So the tropical floral look of this shawl really appealed to me, and that it just put me in mind of that White Lotus theme. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out, and I like the fact that it has a good, nice texture to it. So it has some window-like little holes, little window panes, and then it has, more textured ridges, and just a variety of different texture that makes it just a luscious, unique shawl. And even though the pattern itself is very simple, and it is a free tutorial, but because the pattern, the 4-row repeat, is very simple in and of itself, I think having the wild, variegated yarn makes it all the more appealing and summery looking. So I was really happy with it, and I hope you will give it a try. I'm going to link to Juan's tutorial in the links below, so that if you would like to take a look at this, I believe the yarn would still be available on the internet, even though Joann's is closed now. I'm sure you can probably pick up the yarn still on the internet. So I do, and you don't have to use ribbon yarn, you can use regular yarn, but I think this is a really nice, easy summer knit. Whether you want to make yours the shawlette size that I chose to do, or whether you want a big, roomy, comfy shawl to wrap up in, you can do whatever you want to adapt the basic 4 repeat pattern. But it is fun potato chip crochet. You can just be watching your favorite TV show, sipping iced tea. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you could, like me, you can be sipping your iced tea in the summer and crocheting along with this lovely shawl. Well, I'm enjoying a little early morning, 4th of July, sitting out on the deck, knitting and relaxing before the day gets too balmy and hot and before the firecrackers start up. It's pretty early, like 7 o'clock in the morning. So sitting out here on the deck, and I am working on the Patty Lyons gauge swatch for chapter 2 of her workbook. And in this chapter in particular, what she talks about is how to, this is stockinette swatch, and she talks about how to get better gauge, more accurate gauge, and primarily her goal is in getting gauge, it's not to match the designer's gauge in their pattern, but rather it is to make a fabric that you really like, that matches the project and how you want the fabric to turn out. So I'm finding it really interesting as I'm already starting this beginning of the gauge swatch, the different techniques she's teaching you, and also pointing out the fact, reminding myself that what we're ultimately after is a fabric that is pleasing to produce the kind of project we want to produce. And that's the main important thing. Walter's out here with me. You see him walking around on the deck enjoying the early morning. So anyway, that's what I've been working on right now. And also this chapter is going to show you how to get the right, how to calculate the gauge if your gauge isn't matching the pattern, how to figure out to keep the good fabric you have and to kind of adjust the pattern to the gauge that you're getting. So that is going to be a really helpful thing, and I'm looking forward to, learning more about this, finishing the chapter. I think I'm about halfway through right now, and so I will continue working on that. I just wanted to mention it because I did mention the Patty Lyons, how the workbook coordinates with the book. You need both if you're going to do the project. And Patty Lyons does have a website that is free that you can go to if you do purchase the books and want to work on these exercises. Then there is a community on there, and she's pretty active in answering questions or participating. But it's really fun to be, getting the feedback of other people that are working on it at the same time. So I really recommend that if you do the book and workbook, that you take a look at that Patty Lyons knitting community that is free to access. I also want to mention that I'm wearing the top I made last year. This is a Hobbii pattern, and I'll put it up. It has a very lacy, pretty back. And so I want to make another summer sweater like I mentioned last time, but so far I have not started on that yet. I've been trying to finish up my socks and several other projects, and I just finished up just a shawl. So and anyway, I haven't yet started working on the summer sweater, but this motivated me today to wear this, to remind me that it would be very helpful to have a summery cotton plant-based fiber. And also it's reminding me with the Patty Lyons practicing your gauge, it's reminding me how it's really important to get the right tension whenever you're working with plant-based fibers, because they are a lot less forgiving than the wool. Like this is wool. And once you start working with bamboo and cotton blends, you do have to be a lot more accurate on your tension, or it really shows up in the fabric. So I will be starting that summer top, and I think I have the one picked out of the 4 that I talked to you about last time. I think I've landed on the one I'm going to work on, but I do need to do a gauge swatch and kind of decide for sure that that's the one I want to do. So I'll talk to you more about that next time, and hopefully I'll have it started. But what I wanted to talk about today, since I'm doing this knitting out here today and I'm using a new contraption I got, I was wanting something that would hold my yarn. And yarn bowls have been okay. I have those. I have one yarn bowl. And I think I had a ceramic one in the past, but unfortunately it broke. So I have a wooden yarn bowl that I've been using. But I find that the yarn sometimes gets stuck in the little yarn feed, and it's just not always, I wanted to try another alternative. Another thing I do, I have a habit of knitting from the outside of the ball. I know that many of you prefer to knit from the center pole ball, and it's just a thing of mine that I prefer to go from the outside. I find the yarn barf inside is annoying, and I also don't like the way that when you use a center pole ball, the center gets used up and the ball can get kind of floppy. Walter almost got a squirrel there. So as I was saying, the yarn can get kind of floppy as you use a center pole ball. The inside gets, used up, and so the outside starts kind of caving in and collapsing in on itself. So that's one of the many reasons I prefer to work from the outside of the ball. But with this Yarn Genie, they call this many things: Yarn Genie, Yarn Butler, Yarn to Go, Carousel. There's all kinds of different names, but this is a magnetic one, and I really like it. You have to assemble a little bit of it. You have to put on a screw, I think, up here and here, but this was pretty inexpensive. I got it on Etsy, and the person shipping it even included a little screwdriver to put it together. So my husband got this put together in less than 5 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes. So I like it. The magnet is very strong and is holding the ball of yarn. And what I like this for is when I have a larger ball of yarn, and especially one like this acrylic one, where it's a larger ball. And so I'm finding this really nice. It hangs free, lets you pull the yarn freely. And so, yeah, it's a good choice. And then another one I got about a year or two ago is this little one that you can take to go. I get this off Amazon. It has an arm strap. I'm going to get one final one to try that I just bought, and I don't have it yet, from Twice Sheared Sheep. And it's kind of more along this line, but it's one you sit on the table. This particular one doesn't sit on the table evenly because it's got the holder on the bottom, so it wouldn't sit evenly. But this is good for on the go, especially with sock yarn. I really like this. But for something more stable, I'm very pleased with this. They call it Yarn Genie, Yarn Butler, Yarn Carousel, all kinds of different names. Let me know if you have used one, or if you perhaps prefer a yarn bowl. I would love to know other people's opinions, and I've kind of become obsessed with it lately. I've even watched a YouTube about it where one of the YouTubers went through several different options that she had tried, and of course you can even make one. I told a lady in my knitting group that she didn't want to spend the money on buying one of these. I think this one may have been, oh gosh, $25 or $30. It was pretty inexpensive. And then this one was like $15 off Amazon with the strap. The one I bought just from Twice Sheared Sheep, I think was on sale for about $32, but they're normally $40, and they are sitting on a table. They really look nice. So I'll show you that next time once I get it. But in the meanwhile, let me know what you think about these kind of things, if you've tried these, and also if maybe you prefer yarn bowl, tell me why. I would love to hear more about that. But it's a nice little gadget, and I'm having fun playing around with it. Well, this is July 3rd, so we're almost at the 4th of July holiday, and I'm going to be having a long holiday and anticipating a 3-day weekend. But I wanted to stop in here to talk a little bit about what I will be doing in terms of the Tour de Fleece. Last year, you may remember, I participated in Tour de Fleece, and I got some spinning done. My intention was to get enough spun of some Shetland hand spun in shades of gray, natural shades of gray, browns, and those kind of things, to make enough for a hap shawl, for a Shetland shawl, triangular. And I didn't get that accomplished. I did spin several skeins, and they were lovely, but I didn't spin every day, and I didn't seem to get a whole lot accomplished on it. So I want to bring it up because this year the Tour de Fleece starts on July 5th, which is on Saturday, here just a couple of days away. And so for any of you who might want to participate, who happen to be spinners, and you could be drop spindle spinners, you could be spinning wheel or electric wheel, doesn't matter. They encourage everyone to spin as much as possible, preferably daily, from July 5th to July 27th. That's this year's, to go along and coincide with the Tour de France. And just like on the Tour de France, they do have the resting days of July 15th and July 21st. So you get a little bit of a break, but basically the goal is to spin every day. That's, I think, the pretty universal goal. And of course, last year I didn't meet spinning every single day, but I did really increase the amount of spinning I would normally do. So I did enjoy the challenge of it, and I may try to do some this year as well. What is interesting is that the goal I had of spinning a Shetland hap shawl is still something I would like to accomplish. But I had added inspiration when my summer spin-off magazine came out a few weeks ago. I received it in the mail, and they were showing what they call rock and roll hap. And this is basically a hap shawl with some pops of color. I don't know if you can see that in there. But it has pops of color, the natural yarn of the grays and browns, but interspersed in it are some short rows with pops of color. So that really did inspire me, and I thought, you know, that would be really cool for me to do. And this was based on the Meg Bigler is the one who did this, and she did this mostly on her drop spindle, but she made the main yarn out of, let's see, what was her yarn, what was her thing, it was she did it on her Lindrum and her drop spindle, and she did a lot of natural yarn, but the fiber that she mainly used was the CVM Polworth, and then for the colors she had a silk blend and North Ronaldsy, which I haven't heard of before. But at any rate, I like the inspiration of having the combination of the more traditional natural Shetland. I would like to do Shetland rather than CVM, and then having the pops of color. And the basis of the shawl itself she used was Cheryl Oberle's Wool Peddler shawl from her book called Folk Shawls. So I think I might check that book out in the library. I've had it out before. And I know I admired the Wool Peddler shawl in the past. So this really is interesting, the idea of making it a little bit of blending traditional with contemporary, because I like the idea of having those pops of color in there. So who knows, that might actually inspire me to do the Tour de Fleece. I was originally thinking I would skip it this year because I have so many other things going on. And part of the time that the Tour de Fleece is going on, I'm going to be at Fiber U, because that is coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So I first was reluctant to participate, but then I got to thinking, well, why not? So I probably will do at least some effort to participate using that same Shetland fiber that I purchased last year to make the hat shawl. And I want to mention that if you happen to be, there are all kinds of different groups where you can get on Ravelry or other spinning groups to, people have teams that they participate in. But one thing I will mention is that if you happen to have a EEW electric wheel, that Maurice happens to sponsor a team. And so I'm on his Facebook group as well, and I do have 2 different EEW wheels. And so I have the 6.1, the larger one, and then I have the little nano as well. But I also thought that was nice. All you have to do on that is, I guess, register on there, and then he has the instructions of how you can participate. But he will have some really good prizes. And so I think it includes like a cone winder. There's all kinds of things you can register and be eligible for. And if you're interested in that and you're an EEW spinner, then by all means, take a look at that. That's definitely a real incentive. One thing that I am doing as Fiber U approaches in only 2 weeks is I am participating in, my neighbors just, one thing I am doing is participating in Fiber U in 2 weeks. And I'm going with 2 of my friends, my very good friends, and I'm meeting up with many, many more. And I'm quite excited. You'd think I was going away on a cruise or something, as excited as I get for these fiber festivals. And this one, of course, I'm going to definitely wear this shawl. That's one reason I made it. And there's a couple of other things I will plan on wearing to show off some of the items I've made this year. And one thing, too, is I want to start getting prepared because I have 4 different classes. And when we return, I'll tell you about those classes and how they went. But one of them is Tunisian crochet. And I haven't even quite gotten the hang of the regular casting on and the straight stitch. So I'm going to have to do a little catch-up homework before I go to take that class, because we're going to be learning Tunisian in the round. And I'm also going to be taking another swing at the shuttle tatting that I took a couple of years ago and wasn't able to quite catch on to that. So I'm hoping to take that, as well as there's a Fair Isle knitting class I'm taking. And last but not least, I'm taking a kind of chair caning class where we're going to make a little bench. And so hopefully I haven't overscheduled myself, and I'll still have plenty of time to sit and spin and knit and crochet with my fiber friends, because I do have quite a group of people there that I meet, and we sit down in the lobby in the evenings and do our crafts, particularly spinning. And so I will really enjoy getting to meet up with people from all around the area, the Midwest, that I don't normally get to see on a regular basis. Last, I want to talk about some books I've been reading, because with it being summer and me having the long drives to and from work, I do read a lot, particularly on Audible. And I just finished reading one of my favorite summer authors. I like to read thrillers in the summer. And so Riley Sager is one of my favorite thriller authors. And each summer it seems like he puts out a new one. So this time I got all excited when I heard that he was going to have one that is called With a Vengeance. Yeah, With a Vengeance. And the setup for the story is basically, it just came out a few weeks ago, and what it's about is a woman named Anna, who, it's set in the 1950s too, by the way. A woman named Anna has decided that her father once owned a famous train line, railroad, and so unfortunately her father and her mother and her brother, her whole family was destroyed, and a couple of them killed, and she blames a group of people who had to do with the railroad. He was kind of, her father was kind of set up, and so she decides to take revenge by assembling the people on the train who she blames for her family's, falling apart and the several deaths that occurred in her family. So it's kind of a setup like that reminds me of the Agatha Christie book and movie called Murder on the Orient Express. I don't know if you ever saw the movie or read the book, but it's kind of a locked room mystery and figuring out who done it while people are actually killed while riding this train. And so that's a very similar concept to what she has in this book. She assembles these people, and one by one, she's trying to figure out who the killer is, because there's people are being knocked off. People she's wanting to bring to justice, so slowly but surely are all being knocked off while they're riding this train. And so the concept sounded really fascinating. I was excited to read it because I did enjoy Murder on the Orient Express years and years ago. But I will say I enjoy thrillers. My recent taste is more in the line of thrillers. So once I started reading this book, there were a lot of twists and turns, and it kept me turning the pages, but I will say that I would have enjoyed a more traditional thriller, I think. Riley Sager, to me, does his very best when he's writing a potboiler thriller. And so the one that I am going to re-suggest, if you want to read With a Vengeance, I love the cover of With a Vengeance, and I thought I would really be drawn into it. It was certainly worth reading. It was mediocre, I would say, compared to some of his other novels. But that's just my opinion, because that is no longer my favorite kind of novel. The locked room murder mystery and whodunit doesn't keep my interest as well as the thriller. And so the one I'm going to suggest you read, and I did bring this up last summer when I discovered the book, The House Across the Lake. This to me is much more in line with juicy summer reading or beach reading. And so I'm going to suggest that if you're really wanting a page turner that you can't put down and you like a thriller format, then this is the one that you probably want to turn to versus the other one, With a Vengeance. And this one is about a lady who is an actress who is kind of an actress who she's a mid-30s woman, but she's had her husband's recently died suddenly, drowned in the lake where she is spending the summer in eastern Vermont. And so it's really fascinating because while she's in this cabin on the lake, she happens to start spying on the people across from her that have a glass see-through house. And so the lady across the lake, she saves her from drowning, but that's just the beginning chapter. And from there on, it's just one thing after another, but it's fascinating. And you just don't lose interest at all. But she starts kind of spying through binoculars, looking at this couple across the lake. And that's why it's called The House Across the Lake. You can't even imagine all the things that go on in this novel, the twists and turns and thrills of this book. And it's just under 400 pages. But I could not put this down. And as soon as I finished With a Vengeance, the book I was a little disappointed in, then I relaunched right into this immediately. I kept comparing it and thinking, what I really want to read is the other one, The House Across the Lake. And so I'm really enjoying this even more now that I know the basic thriller plot of it. To go through it now, knowing a lot about it, it's even more interesting and multi-layered. So I am really getting into this. And not only did I buy the book, but I also am listening to it on Audible while I'm driving to and from work. So this one, I will say, does not disappoint. And I'd say give it a try if you're looking for that kind of really page-turner thriller read. One thing that I am wanting to make for Fiber U, if I can, I've been really loving the crochet and the granny squares, as many of you know. And so what I've been trying to consider is, do I have time in the next 2 weeks to make a bunch of granny squares? Because what I would like to wear to Fiber U is a granny square vest, if I can put one together quickly enough. I think it's going to be a real push to do that. So I don't know that I will have time to get it done. But how many of you are really into granny squares? I know they're really popular right now, and they're a very portable project. So I am going to try my hand. At first I have to find a granny square that I like. I've experimented with several here in the last week or so, but I'm trying to find one that I think would make a cute top and figure out my color scheme and all of that. So I will bring that to you the next time if that is something I end up working on. I seriously doubt I'm going to be able to get the whole thing finished. That's really ambitious to think about doing that. But I have in mind that would be something I would like to do. Well, the next time I come to you in episode 46, we will be finished with Fiber U, and I will have come back and have hopefully a lot of inspiration and information and projects to share with you. I really, I'm excited about going, like I said. Right now I'm hearing the katydids singing in the distance, and so I am enjoying the time of year that we're in. Even though I'm not a big summer person, it's very nice to sit out here in the evening, and I will sit out here sometimes and knit or crochet. But I hope you are able to find a nice, cool place to do your crafts and to spend some time with other people, whether you have a knitting group or a crochet group, or whether you go to any retreats or not. Let me know what you enjoy doing. And this is just that natural time of year where we can connect with other people, other crafters. And if you do happen to have any plans to go to Fiber U, do let me know. Make a comment below so I can look out for you there. I really hope to have some fun things to come back and tell you, and some vendors. There's all kinds of vendors there, so I can hopefully bring back some of the show and share of whatever I get while I'm there. So until next time, as I always say, love what you're making and wear what you make.